And now we want to hear what's next. So please welcome on stage the Vice President Creative of Netflix International Originals, Kelly Luegenbiehl. Hi Kelly, welcome to Munich and welcome to Medientage. So great to have you. When we're talking about Netflix in Germany and your impact here, we've recently seen some figures by the German Medienanstalten, Media Authority, clearly showing that the usage of Netflix has skyrocketed versus a year ago. The second German original will be online soon, a second season of Dark, obviously a third original announced. So where do you see Netflix's position in Germany so far?
We find Germany to be a very exciting market for us, not just in terms of consumers, but also in terms of creativity. So this is an investment that we continue to look forward and want to make. We really just feel like since entering the market, we've continued to meet a number of great filmmakers, producers, writers, and directors. And as long as there are great stories to tell, we're going to continue to invest here.
So let's talk a little bit about what's coming next. So Dogs of Berlin is something that we've already heard and read a lot about. Can you briefly tell us what it is that fascinated you in that story, in the people who are making it?
This is truly a story from the mind of Christian Alver, and I think that was one of the things that was really inspiring for us. It was a story that he had been thinking about and living with for a number of years, and it's very much his point of view on life in Berlin today. So it's a very modern and contemporary story that doesn't hold any punches and is a bit provocative in terms of the way it views its characters and the world. But I think for us, that specificity is one of the things that makes it so great and so special. So we're very excited for that one to come out, and it'll be out on December 7th.
And you're already also working quite heavily. I guess you've been here around for a couple of months now on the second season of Dark, obviously.
Yes, we are very deep into production on the second season of Dark. So the team in Berlin has been working away. We have 8 episodes, which will premiere in the first half of next year. And I think that it will definitely deliver on what people loved about season 1. So lots of great characters, lots of twists and turns, and sort of returns us back to the town of Winden in a very surprising way.
So I'm not sure, Kelly, what kind of skepticism you get to hear sometimes out of the German market. I sometimes hear this, oh, they've done one German original, or now they've done 2, but it's not that much that Netflix is gonna do in and out of Germany. But now I understand there are some bigger news. It's not one new German series, it's not 2 German series, but how many are you gonna announce today?
Today we're announcing 5 new originals for Germany, so we're really excited. And this is actually a slate that we've been building over a number of months, and it just felt like today was the right time to sort of let everybody know about what we've been working on. It's a wide variety. I think it shows sort of the range of different types of series that we're going to be excited to bring to the consumers in Germany and around the world.
So please let us know a little bit more about those 5 series.
Sure. So the first is Tribes of Europa, which is our second series with Wiedermann and Berg. We're really excited about this one because it's a big, epic, scopic story set in the future, and it's a little bit of the kind of Mad Maxian version of what Europe could look like in the future. But it also is very character-driven and follows the story of 3 siblings who are displaced and have to find each other and reunite.
And Philipp Koch is the creator and writer on that one, right?
Absolutely. Philip came in with such a special and specific vision of this world, and with this type of story you definitely need a world creator, and he has done that. And so the depth and layers in which he's thought about how Europe in the future could look and the different tribes that could arise is something that we hadn't seen in Germany or anywhere, and those are the kind of stories that are the most special for us.
What else?
So we also have Don't Try This at Home, which is our young adult comedy that looks at a young kid who starts a commercial drug trade out of his bedroom. But at the end of the day, it's also a bit of a love story, because why else would he do it except for a girl? So that one is with BTF, and we're really excited because it has a very fresh and young tone to it. So we think that that one will speak to a very different audience than the series we already have in production.
And it's actually their very first fictional production, because so far they are well known for Neo Magazin Royal and stuff like that in Germany, but you trust them a lot.
We do. I mean, again, this is a story of producers and creators who came in with a very specific vision. And when we hear something that really resonates with the creators on that level, for us, those are the stories that are undeniable and the ones that we want to lean in on.
Okay, go on.
So we also have Skylines with Komplette, and this is our music-driven series set in Frankfurt. And for us, this one was also really exciting because we wanted to make sure we were doing some shows that were from outside of Berlin, outside of some of the more traditional places. And Frankfurt was a city that we hadn't had a chance to explore. So again, it's very character-driven, and with the music backdrop, we feel like it makes it really special and something that will be able to travel as well.
A little less soapy German version of Empire?
You could say that. No, we wouldn't be sad to obviously have comparisons like that, but I think, you know, this one really stands apart in that it's very voice driven, and I think that the music scene in Germany is something that people take for granted, and I think it's going to be something really surprising for people around the world.
Then there's something for Christmas.
There is. So we have an Untitled Christmas miniseries, and this was actually a really special one because we had obviously entered into the European market and known that there's a long tradition of doing holiday programming. But this was something that we felt like would be a great package to do a female-driven family drama with some soap elements to it. And Jantje from Dark actually introduced us to Kati, and she had an amazing take on it and paired up with Summer House. So we're really excited to be able to have that for next Christmas.
And last but not least,
we have our period historical epic from Gaumont. It's their first new series here with their German company. Gaumont is a company that we've had a great relationship with at Netflix, and this one is called Barbarians, and looks at the the sort of the historical epic arising around that time period, 9 AD.
And it's created and written, I understand, by the creators of Club der Roten Bänder, the German version of Red Band Society, right?
It is. And I think this was another great example of a story that they had been thinking about for a really long time, but hadn't exactly found the right platform match. And so when they had heard that we were looking for something a little bit more action-driven and we're open to historical stories, they came in with this one.
So that's quite a range. If I've counted correctly regarding time, it's everything between the year 9 AD and the year 2070. In terms of genres, it's a lot. So it's not easy to say anymore, this is the typical Netflix show from Germany, right?
I think that's what's really exciting for us as we're still fairly new in the market here. We're still learning a lot about what German consumers want from Netflix, as well as what people outside of Germany want from a German television show or from an international series in general. So we're very much in a phase right now where we want to take a lot of risks and try a lot of different approaches, and then we'll learn from our audience what they're excited about.
But what have you learned so far? What is it that German audiences, but also international audiences expect when it's about German series?
I think what's been so interesting for us is the specificity piece of it, which is that I think there was a long tradition of trying to get a show to travel by adding in an American character or having English be a part of the series. But we're actually finding that that's the opposite. And what we're learning is that the more specific and local and authentic a story is, the more universal it actually is. So we're seeing that with stories that travel from India, from Spain, from Denmark, from Mexico, from Brazil, and Germany is a part of that story. Before, it's always just been about the platform and the distribution. And so, we've worked really hard on our subtitling and dubbing to make sure that we're taking out some of the barriers for access.
And how is that working? I mean, it's still hard to imagine, I would say, that US audiences accept a German show dubbed into English.
It would be the conventional wisdom, but I think Dark was a really great example for us and a really special one for me personally, because I found that it was the first show after having worked at Netflix for a couple of years that my friends in the Hollywood industry, whether they're writers or directors or agents or managers, were calling and saying, "What is this show? This is amazing." And I think it's really made people sort of look at the international landscape in a very different way, and to know that stories from outside of Hollywood can be just as ambitious and creative as stories from inside.
I know you're famously sensitive for not sharing too many numbers, but regarding Dark, you actually put out at least the info that it has been the most watched international series in how many countries? I forgot the precise.
I think there's a couple interesting things that we've been seeing with Dark, which is that, since that first month, the number of watchers has continued to increase. So we're seeing that it wasn't just kind of people finding it in that first window, but that they're continuing to tell their friends and family about it and continue to enjoy the story. But yes, it definitely was a story that's captivated at sort of its inception. And I think we looked at some numbers that were saying it was probably in the top 10 in over 130 countries in the first month that it was out.
So shifting perspective from the viewer to the producers and creators, what's your experience like with the German market so far? I mean, to me it seemed a little bit difficult, maybe a bit harder than with many other international markets. It definitely took a bit longer for the first German originals to come onto the platform. Is it because the German creatives and producers had a hard time understanding what Netflix is, what Netflix wants? Didn't they want to work with you?
I think from our perspective, and Germany is not unique in this, we found this in a lot of our international markets, that we just needed to spend a little bit more time telling people who we are and the types of shows and stories that we were excited to do. So that just takes a little bit of time. But I think once we were able to kind of say to producers, look for something that you might not pitch anywhere else, or the story that you thought you could never sell. Those are the kind of stories that we're really excited about. And so I think, Dark obviously gave people a good indicator of the types of stories that we were wanting to do. But with anything, it takes time. And, we've also been spending a lot of time in Amsterdam, and we have a big team growing in Amsterdam. Lucas, who's on our team, just joined us for Germany. We have another German exec, Eva, starting in a couple of weeks. So I think for us, it's just having a little bit of a closer connection to the market, and spending more time here has helped people know what we're looking for.
And then, of course, there's also, that's not your department, but the co-productions, which also, for example, the upcoming Perfume series, which is going to be on ZDF Neo here in Germany and on Netflix elsewhere. So I guess that's also another layer of getting more and more in touch with the German industry.
Exactly. We don't look at our investment here as just sort of only doing originals. We look at it in terms of co-productions, licensed, possibly original films. Kai, who a lot of you guys know, is here and has been working really hard in that space. And so for us, when people outside of Germany watch a series from Germany, they're not necessarily thinking this is only an original, this isn't. They're just interested and excited about the creative talent coming out of here.
So could you maybe share with us a little bit about the process of making a Netflix show? Because I keep hearing so many myths about it. There are the guys who tell me Netflix doesn't have any notes. We can do whatever we want creatively. It's a dream come true. Others say, oh, that has changed. There are now so many people who read each and every script and give a lot of notes. So how does it work from your perspective?
We really look at every show as an individual experience, and I would say it's pretty bespoke in terms of what each show looks for support from Netflix or doesn't. And so, the process itself can start very, very early on. In the case of Dark, we started with a short treatment. In the case of Dogs of Berlin, there was a first script. So there are many different stages in which we'll sort of enter into the process, and we really look at it, again, as a collaboration and a partnership. So if we're building kind of that trust and establishing with our creators that what we believe is creative freedom and they're seeing that pay dividends, then we are having a strong relationship with them from the beginning that kind of carries us all the way through launch.
Do you see any special craft, any special competence in German creatives, or is it just if it's a good story, it's a good story, no matter if the originator is German, English, Turkish, American?
I think for German creators, there's an intensity and a passion and a detail-orientedness that I love and really, really respect. And I think you can see that in the craftsmanship of the series that are being made. And, I think that's something that it feels very true to the German character, but also really of the filmmaking community here. So I've been very impressed with everyone we've worked with so far.
So you've already hinted at the relationship with creatives, building and maintaining those partnerships is an important deal, of course, of what you're doing. And there's another factor which is pretty new to us here, that you do those overall deals, which are very common in the US market, but there's, well, let's call it a growing sensitivity that you guys, with all your money, might steal away the best people, the best creators from the market by locking them into those exclusive overall deals.
We look at an overall deal as just one of many tools in terms of working with talent. For some talent, it makes sense. They're looking for a home where they don't have to think about where am I going to sell my next project. And it really allows them, in the case of Bo and Jantje, to focus on Dark and then focus on the next series that they're going to be doing. So it's not right for everyone necessarily, but for certain creators, it's a good fit. And we're open to doing that. We're open to doing a co-production. We're open to doing development deals. We are obviously going straight to series on a number of things. So we really look at it as just one of many different types of tools we'll use to work with creatives.
So for now, it's Jantje and Bo, but could be more.
Yes, in Germany, exactly. We also have an overall deal with Alex Pina, who created La Casa de Papel in Spain. So right now, those are our two for Europe.
So maybe tell us a little bit about the markets around us. We don't, of course, we are specifically interested in the German market, but we also look to the rest of Europe. What's the creative development like in the rest of Europe?
I think there's a lot of exciting things happening in Europe right now. In this quarter, we're about to launch our first original for Poland, 1983, as well as our first original for Turkey, The Protector, both of which you saw in the clip a little bit before. And I think as we continue to expand new markets, we're just finding that there's a lot of opportunity and a lot of creators who are coming in and saying, wow, I didn't ever know that I could do a superhero story in Turkey, or I didn't know that I could do an alternative history story in Poland. And I think that that's just one example. We're also starting a studio production facility in Madrid. So we're seeing Spain as a big market in terms of exporting to the rest of Latin America. And that is something that's really exciting for us. So again, people who are working on series for us in Spain, they'll have a creative home where they can base their shows.
So what does that actually mean, this production facility? Does it mean that every show out of the Spanish market will be shot there? Does it mean that future German shows, for example, at least the studio parts, will travel and shoot there?
Unfortunately, it's not quite enough stage space for all of those shows, but right now we have 3 facilities. La Casa de Papel, the 3rd season, is being shot there, and we're working towards bringing other productions to that space. We're also obviously looking at other facilities around the world in terms of helping our creators be able to have a home where they can tell their stories and not be worried about where's the next stage space or where's the next location going to come from.
But why is it important for you as Netflix to own those concrete buildings?
I think then we can determine with the creators who's going in what order, and then you're not in line waiting for your turn.
Mm-hmm. Which actually in many European countries now has become a problem, and among other factors caused by you, because you are doing so many shows, right?
Yes, we are doing a lot of shows, and so is everyone else. I think that Germany is a great example of a lot of different platforms coming into the market and making a lot of different shows. I don't necessarily look at competition as a bad thing. I think it's a great thing. It actually pushes all of us to take more risks and to take more chances and to be better. So I think we all just keep raising the bar for each other, which is for me an exciting moment.
So depending on the stats and figures you look at, it's not quite clear whether or not you've already hit the upcoming EU quota, or if you still some work to do to reach those 30% of European original content. I mean, you must be able to tell us whether or not you've already hit the 30% goal.
We haven't hit it yet, but we're definitely on the right track, and it's something that we're going to work towards over the next couple of years.
And I mean, you could voluntarily, of course, exceed the 30%.
Absolutely. You could always bring things onto the service just to fill a number, but I think we still really, we're trying to do it through great series and great stories. So that's our first goal, is to make sure we're not just hitting a number to hit a number, but that we're still doing it with content that our subscribers are going to love.
So you've already talked about competition, and I guess there's two different layers to your competition now. I mentioned the other big global companies that are about to launch their VOD propositions. Do you look at what's coming from Apple and Disney and probably Warner Media, also saying competition is good and competition will drive our business and creativity? Or is that going to change the game, because those are finally the companies which also have big pockets?
I think you can use, actually, interestingly, the US as a great example. I would say there's never been a more competitive time, but also there's never been more great shows being made. So it's a little bit of a renaissance time there. And I think that other markets will follow in that same way. And I really believe that we're going to all continue to push each other to tell better stories.
And then there's, of course, the other approach, the more regional upcoming competitors. Some of them will be here on stage afterwards. TV Now, 7TV out of Germany, for example, and many others in other European countries, where the linear broadcasters try to step up their game and become VOD services as well. How do you look at that competition and those efforts?
We look at the broadcasters as a complementary. We look at them, that our service is complementing what they're already doing. What people here are doing, have been doing very well for a very long time, and we're hoping that for our originals, we'll be doing something that's a little bit different. And then in terms of the licensing and co-production front, we're always looking for new partners. And for us, there isn't sort of a big difference in terms of what types of opportunities we see as originals or co-productions or licensed. We work very closely with across all of those different teams to make sure that our slate and our portfolio is really well-rounded.
So you've announced a couple of new series today that now makes it a total of 8 German originals. Will it stop there, or is there still something missing from Germany, something that if a creator or producer would pitch to you now, you would say, oh, that's what we've always waited for?
Absolutely. We're always looking for the next great thing. There's a number of projects that we're already considering and working on, so hopefully we'll have some more announcements in the next few months, I would say. And for us, there isn't a limit on the number of great stories we can tell. So like I said, Germany is a really exciting market for us, and our plan is just to continue to invest. We want to have kind of a steady drumbeat of content so that the consumer will know that it's a reliable place that they can come for great high-level German series.
Speaking of which, your next travel leads you to Hungary. Your plane will leave soon, so I understand you got to rush to the airport. So it only remains for me to say thank you very much for coming to Munich and for sharing those, well, interesting news and insights about your strategy with us. Thank you so much, Kelly Luegenbiehl.
Thank you.